to fight a speeding ticket. A Riverton man is going on 5 years now and thousands of dollars.
It all stems from a day that he got pulled over, didn't agree with the fine, and he decided to do something extremely unconventional.
Yeah, Daniel Woodruff has more on the story tonight. Daniel, this unconventional move has led to some pretty big consequences, but he's still fighting.
Yeah, that's right. You know, Jared Brokaw's original speeding ticket fine was several $100s. In the end, this has cost him much more than that. Still, he believes that he paid his fine with legal U.S. tender, and he says he's not giving up this fight.
I feel like I'm being criminalized.
After almost 5 years.
For me, this is a matter of principle.
And $15,000.
It's not a matter of money.
Jared Brokaw is nowhere near resolving the legal fight that's cost him the right to drive. But he's not nearly done trying.
Not by a long shot.
Let's rewind back to May 19, 2010. Brokaw was driving in Baker County, Oregon, on his way to Washington.
So I was driving a little bit fast. I was going around 90 in a 65.
As luck would have it, he got pulled over and slapped with a pretty hefty fine.
That was $472. Yeah, I was going fast, but I also thought that that was fairly excessive.
So he decided to protest, paying the fine, but with an unconventional check.
So I took a 2x6 and cut it in half, bolted it together.
Then, after adding all the information you might put on a real check, he boxed it up.
And FedExed it to Baker County, Oregon.
As you can imagine, the story doesn't end there.
They said they couldn't accept it. And I said, well, I'm very sorry to hear that. Awkward pause. Is that all? And the clerk said, well, you have to send us another payment. And I said, well, actually, I don't.
Thus began a back and forth that's lasted years and cost Brokaw a great deal.
Up in the matter of State of Oregon versus Jared Brokaw.
In November 2010, Brokaw went back to Baker County.
This is stupid. You write a check, a normal check.
That judge told him his unusual payment wouldn't fly.
Is what was presented in Justice Court is a board. This court's not going to take that.
Brokaw says at that point he decided to just pay the fine and get it over with. His attorney went to the court to pick up the piece of wood.
They then turned around and refused to give it back, instead saying they were keeping it as a trophy.
Brokaw didn't like that, so he held off on paying and started filing appeals, with no success. By the end of 2012, he says he was out of options and resolved not to pay the fine.
I decided to blow it off and vowed never to set foot in Oregon again.
But again, the story doesn't end there. This past May, 4 years after he was originally pulled over, Brokaw received a notice in the mail from the state of Utah. His driver's license was about to expire.
I made an appointment, gathered up all my paperwork, and went in to renew my license. And it was denied.
That's because Utah knew about Brokaw's unpaid fine in Oregon thanks to an information sharing agreement known as the Driver License Compact.
Now serving A.
As a result, Utah would not renew Brokaw's license.
So do you have an active driver's license?
No.
You can't drive?
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's where things stand today. No driver's license, roughly $15,000 in legal fees so far, and no victory in sight for Brokaw.
This case that you're describing is the first time I've run into this.
George Sutton is an attorney for the Utah Bankers Association. He's not involved in this case, but says it's a double-edged sword.
The code is very specific.
On the one hand, Sutton says it's not out of the question for somebody to write a check on a piece of wood.
If I walk into my bank with a piece of wood and write out a check to cash, let's say, or to the bank, and say I want $100 out of my account, they have to give me $100 in cash.
But only at your bank. Forcing somebody else to accept payment like that, Sutton says, is entirely another matter.
There is no requirement I've ever seen that says any party has to accept a check in payment for anything.
Write it on a piece of paper, get it done.
And you know what? Brokaw could still do that.
I imagine that I probably could, yes, just pay the fine.
Why don't you?
For me, it's a matter of principle.
Is there a point that you will just decide, I'm done fighting, go to Oregon, pay the fine, and be done with it?
Maybe, but I honestly can't say where that point is right now.
You're not there yet?
No, not by a long shot.
So, Brokaw tells me he does have a few more legal ideas up his sleeve. He's not ready to share them at this point, but he says he's not done fighting this yet. In fact, now tonight he told me that he is beginning to raise money online, trying to get people to back him financially as he goes forward with this fight, whatever he chooses to do at this point. We've actually posted his link to that fundraiser on our website because you can actually read his entire side of the story on there. But quite a story, 5 years in the making, Mark and Shauna. Not over yet.
Not even close, it sounds like.
No.
No, probably not.
All right, interesting story, Daniel. Thank you.